Rachel Zegler was given the chance of a lifetime with a $200 million project from Disney, but she definitely blew it because by the end she was being torched by the company.
What if the House of Mouse turned on one of its brightest new stars and crushed her career in a single brutal move? Rachel Zegler was handed a golden ticket, a starring role in Disney's $270 million Snow White remake. But by the end, she was left burned at the stake, with rumors swirling that the studio blacklisted her from Hollywood entirely. How did a fairy tale dream spiral into a nightmare of betrayal, fan wars, and corporate revenge? Buckle up, because this story's wilder than anything you'd expect from Tinseltown.
Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, the board of directors, the many executives over there are really just scrambling right now to just get past this movie and call it quits and just move on to other projects.
I didn't get that. I'm like, every single white male is a piece of shit and the woman is the hero and all authority is bad and all business is bad, but government is good as social. And most people don't know what they're watching. She, unfortunately, sort of pulled the curtain back and people knew exactly what was going on.
Back in 2021, Rachel Zegler landed the role of a lifetime. Fresh off her Golden Globe win for West Side Story, the 23-year-old Latina actress was tapped to play Snow White, Disney's first ever princess from the 1937 classic. The studio hyped her up as a bold, modern choice, a symbol of inclusivity for a new generation. But the second her casting hit the headlines, the internet erupted, trolls flooded social media, raging that a Colombian-Polish actress couldn't play a character described as skin white as snow. Zegler clapped back, tweeting she wasn't bleaching her skin for the role and calling out the losers obsessed with cartoon purity. It was a gutsy move, but it lit the fuse for a controversy that'd only get uglier.
Yes, Toolman.
Yeah, I have a clip of it.
Oh, okay, great.
Her being a retard.
Okay.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
That laugh.
That is
not going to be saved by
You
the
wrote
prince.
it?
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Fast forward to the press tour, and Zegler didn't hold back. She called the original Snow White's prince creepy and its love story weird, saying the remake ditched the romance for a tale of leadership and empowerment. It's no longer 1937, she told reporters, grinning as she pitched a Snow White who didn't need saving. Fans of the classic weren't amused. Overnight, clips of her interviews went viral, with TikTokers and ex-users slamming her for trashing a beloved masterpiece. Why star in a remake if you hate the original? One post fumed, racking up millions of views. To them, Zegler wasn't just modernizing a story, she was spitting on their childhood, and that anger was about to boil over.
She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Our rights are on the line, folks.
Bitch! The
Our
right to buy
reproductive
Cosby
rights.
sweaters?
Come on.
That's the face
Go
of a
vote blue.
serial killer.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
When Snow White hit theaters on March 21st, 2025, the fallout was catastrophic. The film pulled in a measly $43 million domestically on opening weekend. Pocket change compared to its $270 million price tag. Theaters sat empty, with photos of lone moviegoers surrounded by vacant seats spreading online like wildfire. Critics tore it apart, calling it a joyless slog that swapped whimsy for heavy-handed messaging. It's like they took a fairy tale and ran it through a liberalism filter. One reviewer snarked. Fans echoed the sentiment, mourning the loss of the dwarf's charm and the romance that defined the original. Disney had gambled big on a woke reimagining, and it flopped harder than anyone could have predicted.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
So we didn't do that this time.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely when it got announced.
He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
Behind closed doors, Disney execs were in panic mode. The studio had sunk hundreds of millions into this project, and now they were staring down a PR disaster. Early plans floated to shove the film onto streaming and sweep it under the rug, but the damage was done. Shareholder emails buzzed with fury, and fan outrage hit fever pitch. Then the narrative shifted. Insiders started whispering that Zegler was the problem. Her dismissive comments about the 1937 film, they claimed, had alienated the core audience and tanked the movie's chances. Publicly, Disney stayed mum, but privately, sources say execs were plotting to pin the blame on their outspoken star, and that was just the beginning of her troubles.
And so it was like
Those people.
very much this, yes, It was this
People that we
awakening
need
of-
to educate, the people that we need to love into awareness.
love them in the right direction.
Things took a darker turn in August 2024 when Zegler dropped a bombshell on X. After thanking fans for the trailer's 120 million views, she added, "And always remember, free Palestine." The post blew up, racking up nearly 9 million views and sending shockwaves through Disney's Burbank headquarters. With co-star Gal Gadot, an Israeli actress and former IDF soldier, playing the evil queen, the timing couldn't have been worse. Death threats against Gadot spiked, forcing Disney to beef up her security. Producer Mark Platt reportedly jetted to New York to confront Zegler, begging her to tone it down. She stood her ground and the studio fumed. To them, she just waved a red flag at half their audience, and they weren't about to forgive her for it.
Very few people wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad. And so I've got some bona fides here on being fair. The movie was absolutely terrible.
Then came the Blacklist rumors, and they hit like a thunderclap. Sources close to Zegler say she started noticing the chill when calls stopped coming. Projects she'd been in talks for, big films, TV gigs, suddenly fell apart at the last second. Insiders whispered that Disney execs were warning producers off, hinting they'd pull support if she was involved. "They made sure I can't get another acting job," Zegler said in a raw social media Q&A, her voice cracking with frustration. She claimed the studio had turned on her, using her as a scapegoat for a flop they'd mismanaged from the start. Her IMDb page? 0 upcoming roles. For a star once hailed as Hollywood's next big thing, it was a gut punch, and the industry was buzzing.
Yeah. Everyone is serving it's just her going, we need to no, you don't need, it's not your job. Your job is to entertain. You are paid to entertain. That's what this is. Also, it's very disturbing.
So from the casting to the class politics, the sexual politics, the regime politics, everything about it was liberal. Snow White is generally understood to be a very, very white person. And in this case, they decided, nope, no, that doesn't make any sense. So I don't think we're allowed to say that, right? I was referring to the movie as sand beige.
Meanwhile, Gal Gadot sailed through the storm untouched. Her evil queen got praised despite the film's failure, and her career kept humming along, action flicks and superhero gigs still lining up. She'd kept quiet during promo, letting Zegler take the heat, and it paid off. Observers couldn't help but notice the double standard. Gal sidestepped the mess while Rachel got torched. One ex-user posted, was it Gadot's diplomacy, her star power, or just Disney playing favorites? Whatever the reason, it left Zegler looking like the lone casualty of a shared disaster, and fans weren't happy about it.
In every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original, it was worse. This movie was like you took the original Snow White and just put everything through this filter of liberalism. It wasn't through a filter of Japanese anime, it was through a filter of liberalism.
Social media lit up with the fallout. Hashtags like #Stand with Rachel trended as supporters blasted Disney for throwing her under the bus. She was just doing her job, promoting their vision. One petition read, racking up thousands of signatures. Others weren't so kind, accusing her of tanking her own career with arrogant jabs at the original. "You don't bite the hand that feeds you," a critic sneered on X. The divide was stark. Half saw her as a victim of corporate spite, half as a brat who disrespected a classic. But one thing was clear, the internet wasn't letting this die quietly.
It's no really knock on her. If you did the autobiography of Malcolm X, would you cast Tom Hanks? If you remade Moana, would you cast a little Irish guy? No, you wouldn't. So that was off the top.
It is not racist to suggest that a character who is described in the original as skin white as snow, that is literally how the character is described in the original, that's a character description in the same way that, as you mentioned, in Moana. And so this bizarre fixation with race shifting everything, but only in one direction by Disney, obviously is quite strange. Though I want to get to the politics of it, because obviously this was a big thing for Rachel Zegler, the star of the film. It was a big thing for all the left-wingers who made the movie. We have this clip that I want to play for you of Rachel Zegler talking about the love story in Snow White and how it has changed. There was Rachel Zegler talking about this.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and
now Zegler's fighting back, and it's getting messy. In that same Q&A, she hinted at legal action, saying she felt betrayed by a company that once crowned her a trailblazer. Sources say she's gathering proof, emails, testimonies, anything to show Disney's actively sabotaging her. Winning a blacklist case against a titan like Disney? It's a long shot, but even the threat could drag their secrets into the spotlight. They told me to push the modern angle, she insisted, then hung me out to dry when it flopped. If she's got the receipts, this could blow up bigger than the movie itself, and Hollywood's holding its breath.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah.
They replace the prince with a common criminal. So there is a prince-like figure, but he's no longer a prince. He's a criminal. And I think this plays first into the class politics of the left, which hates even the very idea of aristocracy or nobility.
So where does this leave Rachel Zegler? Her fairy tale debut crashed and burned, and now she's alleging Disney's trying to bury her career in the ashes. With fans rallying, legal whispers growing, and a studio empire flexing its muscle, this saga's far from over. Can she claw her way back? Maybe with indie filmmakers bold enough to defy Disney's shadow? Or has the Mouse House already written her Hollywood ending? One thing's for sure, this isn't the happily ever after anyone saw coming, and the next chapter might just rewrite the rules of the game.